Hey, popcorn junkies, there's always the risk that you can show too much of a good film. You can give us too much in the run-up. You can build expectations. I mean, look at Longlegs. I'm not saying that the film was a disappointment, but I think Longlegs is an example of where the social media campaign kind of overpromised something that didn't quite deliver in the way that I was expecting anyway. So here we are with Alien Romulus. And the wonderful thing about the Alien franchise is that it's not really, well, it is sci-fi, but it's sci-fi horror. And we've talked about the first two trailers. This is the final trailer for Alien Romulus. This is set just after the first film and just before Aliens, which was the James Cameron one, wasn't it? I think Aliens was James Cameron. Yeah, no, which I really liked. I really enjoyed it. So this is Alien Romulus, and this is great. This is, I've really enjoyed the first two trailers that we've had. It's very hard for films, a bit like A Quiet Place, that are resurrecting a tried and tested formula. We know what the monster is. We know where the horror resides. They need to do something different. They need to give us something more. And we've just done a trailer reaction to Beetlejuice, and Maddie made a very, pithy observation. Have they just run out of new ideas? Is that why we keep going back to old intellectual properties, franchises, and re-exploiting them for yet more kind of give and more sort of content and more horror? And is there a point at which we have extracted all we can from a certain realm? I mean, we've got Dune Prophecy landing in a minute, and it's like, don't do it to Dune. Are we literally like the sandworms, like the spice farmers? Are we literally draining these really quite rich properties, creative properties, intellectual properties, dry, are we? Well, I think A Quiet Place Day One proved that you could do something quite innovative and novel with a well-established, horror. There was nothing new about the monster, there was nothing new about the dilemma, but they pivoted around human relationships and a human story, which was clever. And I'm wondering whether this film, Alien Romulus, will do for the Alien franchise what A Quiet Place Day One has done for essentially what's quite a straightforward, simple horror concept. Are we looking at a sort of ensemble piece here, where it's as much about the group of young travellers that this film presents us with, as it is about the horror, though albeit, clever horror in space is good. You've got the automatic sort of sense of claustrophobia. The weird thing about horror in space is there is a really finite scope to the horror. Whereas with horror films set in the real world, it can go everywhere. I mean, I'm thinking of films like It Follows, or even, Maxine, recent horror films, or Barbarian. The horror kind of can keep coming after you. What part of the horror is that it keeps coming. It's relentless, regardless of where you go to. Whereas in Alien, and in kind of sci-fi horror in space, you're trapped. It's finite. You're working within a really tight, ever-diminishing space. And I've said it before, but I think Life, that other great sci-fi space horror, which I think had Jake Gyllenhaal in, Ryan Reynolds, I think, was in it too, I thought was excellent. I thought it was a really positive, strong addition to the sci-fi horror genre. I've talked on other trailers about what I feel about all the various Alien films. Big fan of the Prometheus film. I liked that. So I'm up for it. I've liked the last two trailers with this. I like the cast too. Not that I know all of them, but I certainly like Cailee Spaeny. She played Priscilla. She's a really intriguing young actress, appearing in really diverse films and taking on really diverse roles. And we've also got David Jonsson in this film, who's a brilliant young British actor who was in Rye Lane. And I love that he's leapt from a small micro-budget indie shot in southeast London, and he's leapt into essentially a franchise. So without further ado, this is the final trailer. So this is our, not amuse-bouche, this is our dessert. This is our sort of, what is it? Amuse-palate? Is it the thing? What's the thing that you have right at the end of a meal? Anyway, this is the final taster before we get to see it in the cinema.
Are you sure you want to do this? There she is.
You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
This could be our only ticket out of here. Should be in and out in 30 minutes.
Welcome to the Romulus Space Station.
Mother.
This place gives me the creeps.
What the hell is this?
I don't know.
What the fuck was that? Young!
Stop playing around, man. Just get up.
I'm not playing around, there's something in the water.
What do you mean there's something in the
I don't know,
water?
there's just something in the fucking water. Run.
Are you alright?
Navarro! Navarro! I don't know what to
Whatever comes, we'll face it together.
Let's go.
Impact event in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now there's something quite classy about this, isn't there? I like the perennial constant orange light, the orange sauce. It kind of anchors the colour palette, which I like. Bit of water in there. I think the guy from from Rye Lane, I think he's going to be the kind of robot, the android. There's always an android, isn't there? There's always one that demonstrates a strange sort of emotional dislocation or removal from everything. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because again, they've shown a lot, so we know what happens to various characters. What's the rationale behind showing everything? I mean, I suppose now we know, I like that, the scanner, which shows it within the kind of rib cage, and it's like an ultrasound scan. It's where it's growing, it's where it's going to be born. And I have to say, the way in which they're running around, they've kind of given them a slightly swarm-like feel. I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the spider crabs in Cornwall that we came across a couple of years ago. I have to say, even though they've shown us virtually everything, I suppose I'm quite looking forward to going to the cinema and watching it again. Yeah, I think it looks tight. I think it looks slick. I think it looks sophisticated. I think it's going to be stressful.